It appears that we have some bullish dumping for Bitcoin as Bitcoin sneezes and the whole crypto market catches AIDS, and that's just the way that the cookie crumbles sometimes. And in today's video, I want to be following up on yesterday's short-term analysis, looking at that 98.5 pivot as likely be getting more downside. Obviously, that was initiated, thus confirming several things on the higher-term timeframes. What does that kind of lead us into for today and probably the next couple of weeks of price action? Because I do suspect that things will get a little bit more, difficult or complex compared to what we really have been getting for the past month and a half now. So that's probably going to catch a lot of people off guard, probably even myself included in that category as well. That is just the purpose of this particular portion of the market cycle. Anyways, first things first, yesterday, again, we were looking at Bitcoin coming back down below the morning's low at 98.5 as beginning more downside, confirming bearish divergence on the daily time frame, which we do have actually 1, 2, 3 drives coming off of these last few highs. And we see that the daily stochastic oscillator is positioned to the downside here, losing the bullish control zone and losing this long-term regression, which has been holding in the low since September. So something new is going on, which means that it's time to go to the drawing board and expect more prolonged sideways period, which actually does bode well for the long term for Bitcoin. Especially if people want to see like a deeper rally into 2025, later into 2025, I would say. But the more time that Bitcoin really puts in between about 80,000 to 100,000 bucks, I mean, the better it's going to be set up for next year. So that is, I guess, now on the board. But again, when we do have a long-term regression like this, which has now been violated and will remain to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 99,000 bucks, well, I'm going to be at minimum expecting sideways and down until that reverses back onto the upside. And right now, the pivot for momentum is 99,000 bucks, meaning that Bitcoin, could theoretically test all the way up there today. But if it closed below, momentum remains to the downside and corrective, posture remains to the downside as well. Now, here's the thing. I need to juxtapose this sort of more medium-term timeframe look versus the lower-term timeframe look. And by the way, based off of the comments yesterday, it's fucking great, man. It's fucking great. A lot of noobs on this channel, people who are new to this channel, which is completely fine. They have not learned the lesson yet that the OGs know. The titles and thumbnails very rarely match the content. But it was actually really, really cool to see in the comment section, the OGs like awareing other people. It's like, did you not listen to what the fuck he said? Just so good. I wanted to call that out. Anyways, yes. Okay, so let's get back on track here. So in the short term, however, Bitcoin probably does at least prepare for a bit of a short-term bounce here. We do see that the 4-hour time frame is going to have a very, 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 very small amount of regular bullish divergence here between these last couple lows that it's been trying to put in. So, likely does get a short-term try to the upside. But again, short-term try to the upside is just, it's not... it doesn't mean anything in terms of like an actual breakout to the upside, especially as long as Bitcoin's below, let's call it 99,500 or basically this spike high for that we saw from Monday. Or was that Monday? Sorry, no, that'd actually be midday Monday. Anyways, also on top of that, lower term time frame stochastic momentum, I do believe is starting to cross up yet again here. So, in the very, very short term, Bitcoin likely to get a bit of a bounce. We also saw something quite crazy here, something that we don't really speak too much about on this channel, but I do think that this last liquidation event deserves a little bit of recognition because of how fucking severe it was. These are the liquidations on the board here. And you can see that we've really only seen comparable liquidations to this, in other major higher low opportunities like this October low right here, like the September low right here, and then the August low right here. So ultimately, this very likely does provide an opportunity, long term. But again, this next segment, this can take a couple weeks, kind of shake itself out. I do suspect. Anyways, so answering the question, how long can this, can this correction last? Yeah, another couple weeks if it wants. Leading us into the end of this year. And again, more sideways actually does bode well for a deeper 2025 rally, both in price and in time, actually. Just kind of building up a bigger cause right here. But let's talk about after the short-term bounce, where can things come down to, especially with, 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence right here, plus the daily Jewel also turning down. I think even the 12-hour had a pretty damn good sell signal right here. Yeah, indeed it did. Bitcoin could very easily come back down, around yesterday's low, let's call it like 93,500 or so. That would be in my opinion, most optimistic area for looking for a low on this dump after a bit of a short-term bounce attempt. But how will you know? How will you know that if that is the low? We won't know until it actually confirms itself as a local low and does something significant, which again would be popping back up above about 99,500 and closing at least a medium-term time frame above there, preferably a daily, honestly. Until then, the possibility of a deeper correction very much does exist here. If we go over here to our daily HPDR, we can see it's actually still rested on the median. I do think that we're going to explore at least the 38.2 level yet again, which is just below 94. Or let's call it 93.5, somewhere around there, or sorry, in between there. But here's the thing, the 5-day time frame is closing tonight. And if Bitcoin starts to actually really come below, let's call it yesterday's low, especially closing below there, that's where this correction can get much deeper. At least I'd be expecting 88 to 88.5 region, with potential for more. But until that happens, at least an attempt at a higher load, about $93,500. And by the way, I've been getting a lot of comments about this as well. I'm very much aware that a lot of other crypto YouTubers and Twitter people, repurpose or are inspired by my content, let's say, which is great. But there's nothing I can do about it. And fair enough. That's also why I kind of do those titles that a lot of the time don't necessarily match the content to kind of throw these people off. Because also I think it's fucking funny. Anyways, okay, let me just make sure that I'm hitting all my notes here. Okay, we got that. Okay. Short-term bounce. Here's also the thing is that, again, ultimately this very likely does provide a major opportunity. We do see right now that the daily RSI, after confirming bearish divergence, is now already printing lower levels than what we saw going all the way back to, even the late November price action, which Bitcoin was trading, around $90,000. So there is going to be potential for hidden bullish divergence at some point. So if Bitcoin were to come down again to like 93.5 or even a little bit lower than there, that still would have the possibility to create hidden bullish divergence in that case. Also, if I get onto my next notes, yes, okay. Also, wait, what the fuck? Oh, sorry. It's like I can't even read my own notes. Anyways, yes, one last thing here as well. When it comes to the altcoins, I do think it's rather revealing to see what they do during these times. When Bitcoin dumps, do they hold up well? Do they not hold up well? In this past dump, we saw a change of behavior here. Alts have not been holding up as well versus Bitcoin compared to how they were doing over the past few weeks, where alts would generally hold kind of steady when Bitcoin sneezes, maybe even gain a little bit of ground versus Bitcoin. But we're actually not seeing that right here. We saw alts puke more, so a little bit of a higher beta between the two in favor of the alts, which, again, if Bitcoin shows any downside, how much further down can they go? But here's the thing with a lot of alts that I generally look at least on my on my watch list right here, they are having something that we've spoken about a lot of times, which is a reconnect with that red 5 exponential moving average on the monthly time frame. So, again, it's very, very common to retest these things, pretty much on every period. You can see this one is literally retested like every period for the last 2 years, except for once. And of course, when I go across the list, a lot of these are reconnects. So I do suspect that alts, they might retest these lows, maybe make slightly new lows on a wick basis, but I don't, I would be looking at this as likely a potential major low region, likely an opportunity long term is what I really mean to say. Super, just fucking flew right through here. Sorry, I'm just going through all of these right now. Solana, same shit. Ethereum, same shit. All of these can be interpreted as close enough retest to that red 5 exponential on the monthly. Of course, Bitcoin a lot further away right there. But yeah, putting all of these things together and wrapping up my thoughts here, putting a little more conjecture into it. it, short term, Bitcoin very likely to try for a very, very small bounce. Bounce can get all the way up to 99 or even 99.5, but that doesn't mean anything until Bitcoin closes above there. Until Bitcoin actually closes even a daily above there, I would say, just to be a little bit more on the safe side. I would expect this correction to continue a bit more sideways, a little bit more down, very likely retesting the lows after a bit of a bounce from yesterday, maybe even slightly lower on a wick basis, but I wouldn't really want to see closures below there. That starts to get a lot more scary for the Bitcoin laws of the world. And then from there, probably an opportunity. This next segment can easily take like another couple weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, I'd say. So that's a good place for me to be leaving off. How was that for you? That was interesting. Like and subscribe. Sorry. I heard someone else say that on a video once and I thought it was fucking hilarious. Okay, how was that for you? That was interesting. Like and subscribe. All right. Anyways, I'm signing off on that note. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care. Much love and see you hopefully tomorrow for a little bit of live stream action.